Good morning. It's once again time for Mystical Misfits meditation, and we'll be starting up in about 6 minutes. Getting everything cranked up on Facebook here. And then I'm going to have a reflection on yesterday I started Eric's top 10 tips for listening to that still small voice, and I will be doing that shortly. Just getting my Facebook pages set up so I can see folks. I see some of you are already online. Good to see you. Good to be up early with you. All right. So, as I mentioned, just starting every day I'm going to be reading or going over one of my top 10 principles for listening to that still small voice. Yesterday we looked at the principle of be willing to hear God and willing to move in whatever direction God leads. This, incidentally, is the hardest part. It's about 80% of the work. It's just getting willing to let go, to release our ego, release our plans, and actually acknowledge that there is a power greater than ourselves and who loves us more than we love us. Second principle, avoid as much as humanly possible being in a rush to decide whether some thought is from God or not. Also, avoid like the plague, this is during meditation, also avoid like the plague any notion that one must be in a hurry to make a decision based on what one has heard in prayer. This is one of the easiest ways to get tripped up. You must decide right this moment or all is lost. Remember, very small errors can make very large consequences when we are in a rush. God rarely desires or needs us to rush. So yeah, that idea of not judging it, especially during meditation, whether an idea comes to you from, just from your own inner mind working or from something qualitatively different, is not particularly helpful. In fact, it can be detrimental to meditation. The idea is if you overanalyze things. You remember, the spirit does not follow your logic, okay? And it's aware of a much larger story that you're connected to than you are, and people and circumstances and all these things. So your thoughts will take you to places, if you're kind of under the influence of the spirit, that you may not necessarily go yourself. So the idea is I keep tracking those thoughts that seem to have a tug on a line, to use a fishing metaphor. You're just kind of out there, you're waiting, there's nothing, and then suddenly there's just a little tug inside. I will follow the direction of that tug. Hey, Pat and Rebecca and Deb, good to see you online this morning. And so I follow the direction of that tug, and I'm not going to ask myself, is that a tug from spirit or is it just my inner self? I'm just going to follow that. After the meditation, I have all the time in the world to judge whether something came, or whether I think in hindsight something was from the spirit or not. Generally, what kind of follows from that principle is I don't make decisions based on what I intuit in meditations that I wouldn't then logically make for myself if I weren't thinking this is from God or not. There's an exception, an important exception. But basically, oftentimes meditation will lead me to insights that are really good and profound, and I would rationally agree with them after meditation. I don't have to have and God told me to in order to convince me that's a good idea. See, I've already, but God may have told me so. But I'm going to agree with that after the meditation. Now, there's an exception, which is if it doesn't follow logic, I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, but the intuitions keep coming back time after time, day after day, with still provoking that deep sense of peace and joy that I associate with spirit, then I will pay much more attention to it, with the idea that the greater the risk that the idea involves, you're doing, the greater you need to confirm that intuition if it does not follow logic. And also, we'll get to this, but you might want to ask, would this be something that you could see Jesus doing? That's always a very helpful one. So Jesus, would he really ask me to jump off over a cliff or something like that? But those kind of wild, detrimental intuitions don't typically recur and continue to provoke that sense of peace and joy with them. So there's all kinds of ways of weeding those things out. So don't worry about it in meditation. Just follow those inner tugs, and oftentimes they may go like this, all over the place, and then they get you to this place that's amazing. That you have this amazing insight, and you realize you couldn't have gotten to that insight, or would not likely have gotten there without this quite circuitous route there. It's kind of like a dance, really. I think that in some ways, one could say Spirit does want to dance with us. And Spirit likes to have fun. If we like to have fun and we're creating the image and likeness of God, there's something that could be called a fun-loving spirit in God as well. So never discount the fact that God might actually be more fun-loving than you are. Okay. Something that's rarely acknowledged, but absolutely true. Jesus had a much better sense of humor than he's given credit for, I think. And oftentimes we miss the humor because we don't expect him to be making a joke, but maybe we'll get into that another time. Right now, it's time for Mystical Misfits meditation. I'm going to pull up my timer, and this is the Insight timer I use. It's an app on my phone, and I'm going to grab a bell too. This is a crystal singing bowl I got from Sunreed Instruments online. They're wonderful. Just used them quite a bit on our prayer retreat this last weekend. People really enjoy them. Okay, let's get ourselves centered. Remind ourselves of why we're here, what our purpose is, and remind ourselves also that we're being joined by many online who are joining their hearts to ours, which ultimately helps all of us. Take a deep breath in, let it out slowly. In so doing, clear away whatever obstacles you may, or barriers within you to letting down your guard, letting yourself into Spirit. Now we take a look at our last day, last 24 hours, looking for where love has touched us, through another person, through creation itself, just the provision of our basic necessities even, is a loving act. What gifts do you receive that you frequently overlook? As you give thanks, just internally bow to the giver. deep breath in, let it out slowly. And as you do so, bow a bit more deeply to your source, the holiness that surrounds you at all times, the beauty that surrounds you at all times. I envision myself bowing at the waist, deeply, as we call to mind someone who is struggling right now, physically, mentally, spiritually. Try to locate that pain in yourself, some empathetic channel that may not have experienced or be experiencing the same pain, but where you can find some struggle inside yourself, some similar pain or desire for help. Let that seep into you from this holiness that surrounds you. Let down your barriers. Let it seep in. As we pray for others, we don't want negative or anxious energy to be transferred. We just simply want that peaceful, healthful, vital energy. That's why we let it into ourselves, experience it for ourselves first. Then we concentrate on the other person only after we experience it in ourselves. As you hear the bell, you may welcome all the more that energy within yourself. Let it help you draw. Let go. Let it come in. When you're feeling that sense, and call to mind that person. Now let this person fade to the back of our consciousness. Ask yourself what you need today that you could use guidance on as you bow more deeply. I envision being on hands and knees, not groveling, but simply letting my ego down, my preconceived notions even of what I need down more, so that Spirit may direct my attention to that which is within me I may have overlooked, that which Spirit wants to give me. And let your mind and your thoughts start to interact with that need once you have articulated that need clearly and specifically. Sometimes when we consider our needs, we realize what we need most is for someone else to be feeling better. But somebody whose dis-ease impacts our lives directly. It's not selfish to want someone's distress to go down so that it impacts you less. It's actually part of the generosity of God that when we are impacted, we can allow Spirit into both. of us. Now we set aside our needs and bow most deeply, surrender most fully, open most fully, not needing anything from this remaining time, not trying to direct it in any way, but simply being open, allowing Spirit to permeate us, holiness to permeate us, beauty to surround us. And let whatever conversation may arise do, and if none arise, that may be Spirit's signal simply to be with. And we back ourselves out, giving thanks as we do so. Thanks to a spirit who wants to be in relationship, who chooses relationship over perfection even, who loves to be in our presence and knows that our deepest love is to be in hers. Oh, I keep forgetting. I get in deep, and I keep forgetting to put up the the different little markers where we are. Well, thanks again for joining this morning. It's been wonderful to have you online. Good to see you, Steph and Corey and Tracy and Dinah and others. And I'll be back 9 o'clock this evening Central Time, as I am Tuesdays and Thursdays during Lent, and also I'm here every morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. during Lent. So blessings, peace to you, and have a wonderful day.